Hey guys, and welcome to Petrol Ped, and welcome to this week's Midweek 180. You join me in a Hilton Garden Inn at Frankfurt Airport. I am still kind of on my way home from the N24, but I've got lots to talk about this week. Before we do that, let's get on with the housekeeping from last week's Midweek 180. So, the leader of the pack was Michael Kember. Well done, mate. Joined in the Magnificent Seven by Rod Matheson, Malcolm Brew, Paul Mead, my Le Mans mate Kevin DG7, Stephen Spink, and Francois G. So whoever was the first comment this week, you'll be my leader of the pack next week, and the first 7 comments will be in my Magnificent 7. So yes, N24, the Nordschleife in its finest hour, I think, the 24-hour race of Nürburgring. It's just an amazing celebration of all the best things about motorsport. And having done Le Mans and then the N24 back to back, they're so similar in many respects. They're both 24-hour races. Clearly the classifications of cars are slightly different, but they are so different in their vibe and in their atmosphere. Le Mans is a very special race. The hypercars, the history, the circuit itself is amazing, the crowds are amazing, but the N24 is a different breed altogether. First up, there's a much bigger field of cars. The top spec cars are things like 911 format cars or R8s or AMGs. So they're highly tuned race car variants of road cars that you would know. The middle of the pack, you're going to see things like M4s, you're going to see things like Yaris GRs, you're going to see things like a Dacia Logan at the back, some Aston Martins, some McLarens. It's a real spread of cars. And it was just a fantastic, fantastic race. I was there with Michelin UK, and we were being hosted by Manthey Racing. So we were in the hospitality of Manthey Racing, who were entering their 911, the number 911, and it's better known as the Grello. It's like a mix of green and yellow livery, a very iconic car. And that car raced 24 hours in first place the whole way. It led the whole race, but only by a matter of tens of seconds. It didn't just like leap up the road. It was such close racing. But there was an incident about 4 hours from the end. One of the amazing things, and you see it at Le Mans to some extent, the closing speeds between the different categories of cars. But I think at the N24, the closing speeds are so much more exaggerated. And when they're actually out on the Nordschleife, because they use the Grand Prix circuit at the Nürburgring, and then they go out onto the green hell, onto the Nordschleife. And the closing speeds, when the top cars are working their way through the back of the field, is just quite, frankly, it's quite scary watching some of the onboards. They come up behind cars so quickly. And Grello came up behind a slower moving Aston Martin. It went through a number of blue waved flags to say, look, there's a faster car behind. And they came up to a right-hand bend, and it looked like the Aston had kind of moved out into the middle of the track to make a space for Grello to come through. And the Manthey car came through on the inside, and just as it came alongside, the Aston Martin closed the door. The room of road that was there disappeared, and they ended up, it didn't really touch too heavily because the Manthey car wasn't actually damaged. But they did touch enough for the Aston just to lose the back end, and then it slid off onto a very small amount of grass onto the Armco and then ended up on its roof. And there was a under investigation warning came up. It took the stewards a long time to decide what they were going to do, and they ended up giving the Grello car a pretty significant time penalty, 100 seconds, I think. Now, what happens when you get a time penalty at the N24 is they've got a penalty box in the pit. You come in, you sit in the penalty box until your time penalty has been served, and then you can go and have a pit stop. And Manthey decided not to bring the car in, but to appeal the decision, because it took a couple of hours for the decision. So you're still sort of 2 hours from the end with the decision hanging over. Grello's still in first place. And then quite close to the end of the race, probably about half an hour from the end of the race, it was quite clear, talking to some of the senior guys in Manthey, that their appeal had been denied and they were going to get their penalty, and they would have to serve that after the race. And although it crossed the line in first place, Grello was then basically put back to second place, and the M4 BMW won. And I think it was a real travesty, actually. I think it was a shame. I think it was a very harsh penalty indeed. And I think the drivers were clearly mortified. They were just so upset. The whole team was upset. And it kind of put a bit of a taint on the weekend. Having spent the weekend with the team, we got a factory tour. We met a lot of the engineers. We went down into the pits. We saw a lot of the support crews behind. And for them to not win was a real shame, actually. We also caught up. Me, Joe, and Pat went down to see Misha and Jimmy Broadbent and Steve Alvarez Brown, Super GT online, and Manuel, their pro driver, racing in the M4, Bilstein M4, and they just did unbelievably well. They came second in class. Again, their car that won their class, it was debatable whether it was in the right class, to be honest, because it was more powerful, much lighter, and something like 20 seconds a lap faster than them. So they did amazingly to keep it in check. And then the final guys we caught up with we had Charlie Cooper on the podcast from the Mini team. Now, unfortunately, Charlie couldn't race because he's just had a complete knee replacement. And it was quite clear that he wasn't going to be fit enough to race. So someone came in to take his place. But the Mini came in P2 in class as well. So everybody we were supporting at the weekend ended up in P2, which I think is I don't know, maybe we should go next year and then everybody will end up in P1. That would be good. No new car news this week, although I don't know if you've seen it. There's a brilliant video on Ferrari's YouTube channel with Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc driving the F80, because we're going to start to see some F80 first drives very soon. It's a really interesting looking car. I saw one at Le Mans and had a really good look at it. I think it's one of those cars. It's got lovers and haters. I think I think bits of the design work really well. Some bits I'm not so keen on. But watch Lewis and Charles going around Fiorano in it, and it looks, well, one, it looks like an amazing car, but it's a brilliant, brilliant video. Now, just some updates and stuff. If you follow the channel and follow my travels, I've been away a lot the last few weeks because I did Le Mans. I got home, I had a day at home, just enough time to kind of do all my washing, pack a new bag, and then I set off for the N24. And we set off early because we did some filming. We did a sort of some Top Gear style challenges, which will be coming to the channel very, very soon. We basically challenged ourselves. We had to turn up and go on the trip in a car that was racing at the N24. And the car had to be running Michelin tyres. So I rocked up in a GR Yaris, thanks to Toyota UK. Joe turned up in a BMW M4 CS, thanks to BMW UK. And Pat turned up in the Michelin Porsche 911. And we've done some really cool films with that. So that'll be coming to both Joe and my channels soon. But this Friday's video is the M4 CS review. I borrowed the car for an hour or so and just did a first take review. What an unbelievably fast car. And we're on an amazing road. So that's Friday's video. There's going to be a slight difference in the filming schedule or film releases next week because finally I'm actually having a holiday. And I don't know whether you can see the bags under my eyes. I'm so tired. Having been away from home pretty much, two and a bit weeks. I've now been away from home with just a couple of days at home in the middle. So Trace and I go away for a few days in the sun next week. So I'm going to take my foot off the gas a little bit and have a holiday. However, there are two films coming out next week. One is a film that's under embargo, and that embargo drops on Tuesday evening, so please keep an eye out for that because I know it's not a normal time for me to drop a video, but it's a really cool car, so that will be coming out on Tuesday evening. And then the other film, which I hope to try and get ready for Friday of next week, is something I'm filming on Thursday of this week. I'm going to my good friends at 50 Supercars on Thursday, so today is Tuesday. I'm in Frankfurt. Wednesday I've got to drive home tomorrow. And then Thursday I'm going to 50s to film with a Singer Porsche. Yes, you've heard it. I'm filming with I think it will undoubtedly be the most expensive road car I've done a review on. It's over £1 million worth of car. So that's being filmed on Thursday, and that will hopefully come out next week. And then we're going to get some holiday. So yeah, so that's pretty much it, really. I really wanted to do a midweek 180. I've just went from the N24, came here to Frankfurt. I've had a flight in and out of Italy, and I'm back here, and I drive home tomorrow, and I'm very tired, but I really wanted to get a video out just to explain what was happening and also talk about N24 because it was just such an amazing thing. The other thing about N24, by the way, I know I'm rambling, but I'm tired, is when you go to the N24, first up, I think you get a lot more access with the standard ticket. You don't need special wristbands or lanyards or anything. You can see a lot at the N24, which is really, really cool. But if you go outside the circuit, the N24 is based at the Nordschleife, and the Nordschleife is some 18 kilometers long, so there's so much track. But when you go out into the woods, first of all, you can get really close to the track, but the fans that are there, the camps they make, the makeshift grandstands, the structures, or like 3-story structures made out of scaffolding. We got invited in by this crazy group of Germans. The middle floor was a bar, the top floor was like a disco. They had a 6-person hot tub behind it. They had a sim room. It was just absolutely bonkers. We looked at one stand. It had a stair lift to get you up onto the top floor. It's walking around and just seeing all the fans and the campfires and the fireworks and the loud music. And it's just an amazing, amazing experience. So if you've never done it before, I strongly, strongly recommend you put the N24 on your bucket list of things to do if you're a motorsport fan, because it's absolutely wicked. Anyway, I need to quickly edit this video and then get to sleep, because tomorrow I'm off to Calais and then off home. Woohoo! Anyway, if you enjoyed that, please give me a thumbs up. Comments below, always welcome. If you haven't done so already, please